still look good on you, baby.
Oh, right on,
still
man.
look good on you.
Do you think, brother?
I will.
If Randall Cunningham were to play in today's NFL, he would, in my opinion, make Robert Griffin and Michael Vick look second tier to him. I would put him against those guys that wouldn't even be close because he was a bigger guy, as fast, as strong, and he could do more with the football.
I would really love to see Randall Cunningham at 23 come back to the NFL today with some of the offenses that teams are running now. I mean, I would love to see him in the pistol. I would love to see him in the read option. You take him from that era and you put him as a young man in this era, and there's no telling what he could do.
I think in today's game, it would have been amazing. I don't know if you could have stopped this guy. I really don't think you could. He could flat run. And he could throw a strawberry through a battleship. I mean, he had just an unbelievable arm.
There was at least 17 to 20 times where I had him dead to rights, and he slithered out of it.
Man, I keep beating this guy, and Randall still runs out around. He gets wide. I don't understand it.
There's been a lot of good scramblers in this league, but in my opinion, Randall Cunningham is number one. He'd make you look like a fool.
You know, I saw footage of Fran Tarkington. You know, they talked about Roger the Dodger and how he could dance around. But those guys didn't do it the way Randall did. Randall took it to a whole different level.
Randall probably did it more dramatically.
It couldn't be more dramatic.
And more spectacularly.
Cunningham leaping in a marvelous athletic play.
Than any other quarterback before or since.
Though he's been retired since 2001, Randall Cunningham is still busy on Sundays. He's the founder and pastor of Remnant Ministries in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Jesus, Jesus, Jesus! Remnant Ministries is a movement that God began because I wasn't trying to be a pastor, nor was she trying to be the wife of a pastor. We start this Bible study. Next thing you know, we've got 1,100, 1,200 people in the church. We become Remnant Ministries. It was about in 2003, and we love pastoring people.
We don't want to be patient, so what does God do? He takes us through the patience test.
Hopefully, my life is relatable to people.
Anybody been through the patience test? Woo, let's not go back there.
I'm not a person who everything has been perfect in my life.
The man once called Ramblin' Randall has traveled a long and uncharted course to his life's work. A journey filled with controversies and contradictions, triumph and tragedy, faith and football. A journey that began by the shores of Southern California. The youngest son of Samuel and Mabel Cunningham, Randall was one of 4 boys, the oldest of whom, Sam, was a college football star.
He had grown up out in Santa Barbara where his half-brother Sam Bam Cunningham was playing for USC. So Randall would go into the locker room for the USC games, and he got to know, big-time college football players. For Randall, that was a very real world. When Randall played in high school, his brother Sam had made it to the NFL. He saw himself as destined for that world himself.
Cunningham starred for Santa Barbara High School and was recruited by many major college programs, but not the one he wanted most.
I really wanted to go to USC all of my life because my brother Sam had gone there. But people told me when I was younger, you're not going to go to USC because USC won't play a black quarterback. It was just that way back then.
One school did offer Cunningham a chance to play quarterback, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. But before he played his first game, he suffered 2 devastating losses.
Lost my mom. Go to my mother's funeral. It was very, very hard. I didn't know how to react to death. I'm just a young 18-year-old kid. Then the next year, my father died. When I look back, I realized that, trials had come in my life to make me stronger.
Lost both parents, which would be devastating to most people. Did he say, poor me? Did he come in and give me the poor me thing where I had to give him a T-shirt in my drawer where it said poor me? No, I didn't have to do that, Randall. He is able to overcome things that happen in his life.
Cunningham was a 3-year starter at UNLV, and by his senior year was doing it all for the Rebels.
Offensive Player of the Year in our conference. We won a bowl game with him. Most valuable player in the East-West Shrine game. Here's a guy that was All-American punter.
This versatile athlete, who also quarterbacks the Rebels, got off 2 73-yard kicks this season.
Yet, took me a while to convince the NFL that he was a quarterback.
Randall Cunningham II is currently a highly regarded high school quarterback prospect.
Randall's being recruited by major universities all over the country.
Arizona State, Oregon, Miami.
Not only as a quarterback, but they're recruiting him for track as well. He's the #1 high jumper in America. He's gone 7'3"1/4.
And there it is, the nation's #1 high school high jumper.
LSU, Syracuse, Baylor.
Young Randall has achieved more notoriety before leaving high school than his father had entering the 1985 NFL draft.
Strike up the band. We have our first quarterback selected, and is it a surprise? I think it is.
A lot of people project Cunningham as a real project, but a guy with great natural ability. It takes a long time to get rid of the ball.
We were suspicious because he didn't come from a big-name school. We heard he was a running quarterback, and that makes you suspicious. No one knew he had the arm that he had, so there was a lot of doubt.
Philadelphia knew little about Cunningham, and he knew even less about the city.
I had never been to Philadelphia before. I was this West Coast kid with a jerry curl. People couldn't figure me out. I couldn't figure myself out. I knew about Ron Jaworski and Mike Quick and the players. I didn't know anything about the city. And then, to find out it was 40% African American, that even shocked me. And I'm just looking around, I'm like, wow, inner city. It came from California. Go to the beach, shoot the tubes, boogie board, and then be like, cool, dude, see you tomorrow. That's how I grew up. To go to the 5th largest city in America, I was overwhelmed.
It's like a dream come true to be able to play for the Philadelphia Eagles here in Philadelphia. It's a great place.
I wasn't ready for all of that.
The great thing about being an Eagle is that you can be a part of something big.
At training camp at Westchester, I can remember him pulling up in his Porsche 944. He didn't hide from the spotlight.
Didn't carry himself like your typical rookie. He wore a T-shirt that said, "Ask my agent."
149!
Early in camp, Cunningham irritated veterans by refusing to take part in a team tradition.
Every player is asked to sing their fight song. It's no big deal. Get up on a chair, sing for your food, and sit down. For whatever reason, Randall decided he wasn't going to sing for his food.
I wasn't rebellious. I just didn't know my fight song. I'm sorry. How you going to sing something you don't know?
Cunningham's chance to make noise in the NFL came sooner than expected. Week 1.
Poor Ron was getting the stuffing beaten out of him. And then finally, they pulled Ron and they threw in poor Randall.
I remember Coach said, "Kid, warm up." I'm like, "Warm up who? Warm up what?" He said, "Warm up." And I was nervous. I went out there with like a deer in the headlights. I mean, I'm looking, I'm like, that's Lawrence Taylor right there. Harry Carson. I'm going, man, this is the NFL. I did not know that it was going to happen that quick. I didn't think I was ready. But they threw me in the fire.
It was more than a veteran quarterback could deal with. Certainly more than a rookie quarterback could deal with.
I thought it was a bad move. I knew he was going to be a heck of a player, but he was not ready.
After the game, they named me a starting quarterback, and I'm like, oh, my God, I'm not ready for this.
I've got all the confidence in the world. The teammates have confidence in me.
Cunningham started the next 4 games. He lost 3 of them and threw his only touchdown pass of the season. He returned to the bench. The team finished 7-9, and a coaching change was made.
It's a great pleasure for me to introduce to you today the
Next coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Buddy Ryan.
It was well known that Buddy was not a Ron Jaworski fan at that time. And he was trying to figure out a way where he could ease Randall into playing time and eventually the starting role.
Buddy, as far as I know, invented the idea of the nickel quarterback.
3rd and 7 or more, Randall would come in and play quarterback. It was 3rd and 6 or less, I stayed in and ran the offense.
People couldn't figure it out, and he knew as a defensive coordinator that that would be tough. Buddy was a genius doing that.
It was probably one of the dumbest moves in the history of professional football, if you ask me. It was bizarre. Everyone knew what Randall was going to do, but I remember Buddy saying this move was going to revolutionize the game. Well, that didn't quite happen.
But even when Randall wouldn't make it, which was more often than not, people of the city would start to say, look, you know, there's something there.
It became very apparent to us almost immediately that Randall was going to be fun to watch. And it was jaw-dropping to watch him play.
I would drop back, I'd run around, and just be an athlete. Being put in a situation where the odds are against me, it was really part of my developmental process as a quarterback.
Philly's unique third down specialist began to draw the attention of the rest of the powerhouse NFC East.
How about they're using Cunningham on 3rd down?
Yes, he's a threat, and we had special calls when we saw it was him, and you gotta treat him differently.
He's always going to be a problem to anybody because he's an excellent runner, and you got big linemen rushing, and they're not as quick and agile as he is.
Cunningham gives him a little different dimension, of course, and he got him some impetus there and made a couple plays for him.
You know, playing Dan Fouts is completely different from playing a Randall Cunningham or somebody like that.
Cunningham in there. We go two-man combo. We got two-man combo on the reduced. LT Samir on it.
He was a hard guy to game plan against because you couldn't replicate him. You didn't really see anybody like him. Not only is he fast, but he was hard to tackle.
I think we're looking at Plastic Man.
The emphasis was for you to get deep and not let him throw the ball over your head.
Get deep when he's scrambling, okay? We only get deep back there when he's scrambling.
GTFB. Get the back.
GTFB. With Cunningham, it was you were just never safe because if the receiver got behind you, he could get him the ball. I don't care how far it was. On the run, too. He didn't have to be set. He could be running and guys chasing him and still launch it 70 yards down the field.
By 1987, Cunningham had supplanted Ron Jaworski as the Eagles' starting quarterback. His athletic feats had earned him praise locally, but he would soon become a national sensation.
Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. It is rocking tonight. The Giants are in town. 3rd down, goal to go. Look at that agility. Special right there.
I remember that play very well. I read the play fake, knew he was going to roll out, held contained, came up as soon as he made his move, went through my whole tackling motion, and the next thing you know, the guy throws a touchdown. When I looked back and saw that someone had caught the ball, I think I fell back in disbelief.
No one had ever seen a guy do something like that. Nobody's body is able to take a hit like that and not go down. Nobody can bounce off people like he's made of elastic, but Randall did.
It's a great play, but in Monday Night Football, on that stage with that audience, then it becomes a phenomenon. And that was when Randall crossed over from being just a really promising young player to being somebody that even the casual fan said, hey, I got to watch this guy.
This guy has not been seen by many national audiences before, but I think you're starting to get the drift as to what kind of football player plays here in Philadelphia. Randall Cunningham. That is a big-time play.
Starting with that play, it almost seemed that there was almost no limit to what his physical gifts were. It was almost like you said, this guy isn't 100% human. Did he come from Krypton, or where did he come from?
He gets the snap. He steps forward. It's a beauty. A deep spiral. Fagan watches it
pounds.
In 1989, Cunningham unleashed a key 91-yard punt to help beat the Giants. It remains the fourth longest punt in NFL history. In 1990, he was voted league MVP by the Pro Football Writers Association, thanks to highlight reel efforts like this 95-yard pass play into the wind at Buffalo.
He's heaving it deep downfield for Fournette. Policeman has it.
There is nobody does it better than number 12.
He had exploded onto the national stage with some spectacular performances. Sports Illustrated put him on the cover, called him the ultimate weapon. He was being compared to Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky. I mean, that's pretty heady stuff, you know, and Randall bought into all of it.
They say we're celebrities. If we're celebrities, we're entertainers. If we're entertainers, we're supposed to entertain people. Michael Jordan entertains people. That's why people watch the Chicago Bulls. People love Magic Johnson. They think he's magic. The great one, Wayne Gretzky. Maybe one of these days people will look and they'll say, Randall Cunningham, you're there.
Randall was hyped to an extreme. It would have taken a spectacularly self-possessed individual not to have gotten carried away on that wave of adulation and celebrity, and Randall definitely was carried away with it.
There's quarterbacks nowadays who won't run like I just did, pocket quarterbacks, and you think I wouldn't do things like that nowadays. But that's not me. I'm daring. I'm Randall Cunningham, the John Wayne of the Western days of our football team.
I mean, he enjoyed the whole part of being a celebrity quarterback.
Yes, Randall Cunningham, please. Randy? Speak up, could you? Got water in my ear.
He became a celebrity.
Right. What's the pay?
Nothing's wrong with that. A celebrity quarterback, there are a lot of those. You know, why not go to a big party? Why not hang out with the Hollywood set? It's better than some old boring party hanging out with the offensive lineman after the game. Who wants to do that? You can go to Whitney Houston's crib.
Cunningham once left a preseason game at halftime to attend a party thrown by Whitney Houston and was later caught by the tabloids with the singer on a Caribbean getaway.
It was something that just happened. You know, we spent a day and a half together as friends. And that's what it was. Got away from everybody and then just happened to be someone in the bushes shooting. It was just another aspect of my life.
I mean, he was a superstar. He mingled with some of the most famous people at that time.
People wanted to watch him on the football field, and they wanted to get to know him off of it. He was just that unique.
Randall, I think, always saw himself as a celebrity. He would identify more with someone like downtown Julie Brown or Arsenio Hall. This was his reality.
I was very influenced by Arsenio Hall back then. I had gone on the show about 3 times. We had become friends.
Because he was a big star, one of the local TV stations wanted to do a weekly Randall Cunningham show. Every city kind of has those. The quarterback has his own show. If you tuned it in, you wouldn't have known if it was a football show. It played like a knockoff Arsenio Hall show. That's kind of what he wanted it to be.
You know, we joked about it incessantly in the locker room, especially the outfits. It's like, dude, just put on a regular suit, man, and call it a day.
It was the one time during the week that I can go there and be myself. I can go in front of the people who really cared about Randall Cunningham. The Randall Cunningham show, it was a good time. I got an Emmy from it, as a matter of fact, so it was pretty awesome.
Okay, we'll see you later then.
On a team where you had guys like Jerome Brown and Seth Joyner and Wes Hopkins and Andre Waters, who were football players to the core, Randall's Arsenio Hall act didn't play very well.
Randall's Randall, and you have to expect something different from him.
And action.
A few of us thought that he should be in the mindset of us winning as a team and not his next photo shoot.
There was a period of time in his career that
Cutting?
success probably got the best of him. It was about Randall.
Are you amazed sometimes when you look at the film the next day?
Man, am I amazed? I'm amazed all the time at some of the stuff I do.
He was more wifty than he was selfish.
They always say, why do you think you can fly? I said, I'm an eagle. You know, when you're 20-something years old, you don't know who you are. You're trying to figure it out, and that's where I was.
By 1988, Randall Cunningham had led the Eagles to their first playoff berth in 7 years.
We had opportunities early. You know, we had a drop in the end zone for a touchdown. I caught one for a touchdown that was called back.
Toward the end of the first half, a dense fog rolled into Soldier Field. The Bears led at the time.
Whoever was winning at that point was going to win the game. As good as the Chicago Bears were, I believe we should have blown the team out at that time.
I don't blame the fog for that loss, and Randall shouldn't blame the fog for that loss. The other team had to play in the fog, too. I just never thought Randall was good enough to get the team to the Super Bowl. I just didn't think he was a good enough quarterback.
A year after the Fog Bowl, the Eagles were upset by the Rams in the first round of the 1989 playoffs. In 1990, they lost to the Redskins.
Eagles were favorites in both of those games.
Did you go inside?
Both of those games are at home. Your defense played well enough in both of those games to win it.
Come on, Randall, step up to the challenge. Come on.
And Randall threw 0 touchdowns in either of those 2 games.
And the ball just seemed to get away from Randall. It was wild high.
Come on, Randall, use your feet. Around trying to be a passer.
That was when we really learned the limitations of Randall Cunningham, those 2 games.
I think they didn't get there because of Randall.
Concentrate on looking at me and him. I'm not going to, well, I won't give it to anybody, right? Because we had a touchdown.
Now, I don't think that's all his fault. I think that's Buddy Ryan's fault as well. I think Buddy Ryan let him just do whatever he wanted to do.
I was free to do whatever I wanted to do. Buddy said, just go make 5 big plays and we're going to win some games.
5 big plays. That usually wins the game for you. Everything was built around him.
Following the 1990 season, Buddy Ryan was fired and replaced by offensive coordinator Rich Kotite.
Richie, his philosophy was totally different. And he told me, you just sit in that pocket and complete 7 out of 10 of your passes. That's how this system works. And I said, okay, no problem. Your offense, I'm going to do it your way.
Now, the first play of the second quarter, Randall and maybe the Eagles' hopes for the season were grounded. Cunningham had correctly predicted if he ever got hurt, it would be in the pocket.
I got injured in the pocket, and I was so upset about that. With Buddy, I was always able to move around and do whatever I needed to do. Now, to me, I was sitting like a lame duck, and when I got injured, I threw all the blame to him. I was sitting in that darn pocket, you know. That's not my style, you know. And a lot of people have criticized Randall Cunningham because he runs out of the pocket so much. Well, I've ran out of the pocket, and I've been healthy. When I come back, I'll be back to the old Randall.
He drew some plays in the dirt. Some of them worked. But as a coach, you're structured.
You got to look over there, and I'll get him a break off, okay?
And I was becoming rebellious at that time. I just didn't agree with his philosophy.
Tank was wide open, and I know you're thinking of getting away from the rush, but let it happen in its normal progression.
There was an individual thing in his mind that he thought he could do it himself. There comes a time when you have to just say, no.
Cunningham staged a heroic comeback from his injury, but couldn't help taking a swipe at Kotite with his latest marketing venture.
I'll be back scrambling. All the questions were, do you think he'll ever come back from that injury? And that was my answer. Oh, I'll be back scrambling. A marketing guru, Terry Bender, said, hey, man, we need to make a hat. We could be very prosperous off of this. And I said, yes, let's market it.
That was typical Randall. When he came in the locker room with these I'll be back scrambling T-shirts and hats, nobody was shocked. Nobody was shocked. We would not have expected anything different.
Eagles trailing by 10.
Kotite and Cunningham would win a playoff game together in 1992.
Keep playing tough and smart.
But it was a momentary thaw in their relationship. In 1993, Cunningham broke his leg against the Jets. He missed 12 games and launched another marketing campaign.
Let me be me. That was slogan number 2. It was just a way of me marketing. It wasn't like, Kotite, let me be me. You know, it was just like, you know, I need to do things the way I do them. And it was kind of a slogan of the players, too.
The let me be me, you know, I think didn't work for a lot of people. It didn't work for me. I mean, I can't run my route a certain way, and my head coach says, I can't let you run it that way. And I said, well, I need to be me. That's when, you know, he kind of, you know, shook a lot of guys.
By 1995, Rich Kotite had been fired. The new man in charge, Ray Rhodes, brought with him a young, strong-willed offensive coordinator.
Probably a rare situation where the quarterback is actually older than the offensive coordinator. Has that translated into any uncomfortable situations?
Don't be running out of control with the flanker standing out there. Be smart.
John Gruden, who I love very much, is very high-strung. Football, football, football.
That's two major ups already.
Brew, why you got to kill him like this today? Give me something, man.
Everyone knew that to learn the West Coast system, it took about 3 years before you became successful. I knew that also. So I was cramming and trying to memorize every single thing.
Let's go east right, F short, two-jet double cross, Z quick.
Let's go east right, F short, two-jet double cross. Give me that again, double arrow.
Double cross, Z quick.
And I guess I got overwhelmed with it.
Round 58. Is that right? It's got to be over here, right? And then go back.
Solo left U motion. Solo left U motion.
All right, hold up.
John Gruden really brought in a system and made me do things that I was not accustomed to doing.
Randall is struggling big time.
Cunningham struggled with the quick timing throws of the West Coast offense. And by the fifth game, was benched in favor of journeyman Rodney Peete.
He was not happy. And it was a very difficult situation just living in that city. And it's like everybody turned against him, and we were expecting little Randall. So it was such a bittersweet thing.
As Cunningham watched from the sidelines, Peete led the Eagles to a playoff win. After the game, it stirred controversy by considering leaving the team to be with his pregnant wife.
You know, it's a family matter, and again, it'll be hard for me to tell him that'll be Randall's decision on what he's going to do in that situation.
My wife is more important than football. You know, if something happens wrong, you'll never be able to live that down.
Cunningham returned home to Las Vegas.
He basically disappears for the better part of 3 days, the week of a playoff game.
The Eagles wanted to fax Randall the game plan, but there was a problem. Cunningham never gave the Eagles his number in Las Vegas.
And early in the game in Dallas, Rodney Peete gets hurt. And now Randall has to go in.
And here's the redemption. And all is going to be good. But Randall's completely unprepared.
He looks, he cuts it, it is intercepted, thrown behind him.
The Eagles get crushed by Dallas. The offense can't do anything.
At that point in time, I don't believe the players believed in me. So we weren't functioning on all cylinders.
It's getting worse. That was a bad catch.
And you know as that game is winding down that that's it. That's the end.
Another bizarre chapter in Cunningham's bizarre career.
It ended about as badly as an era can end for a player that at once had the popularity and stature that Randall had here.
I left hating the game of football. I left with pride. Like, you know, I'm a multimillionaire. I don't need this anymore. I never, ever wanted to play football after that. And I kind of rode off into the sunset.
Following his retirement from the Eagles, Randall Cunningham returned home to Las Vegas.
We started the marble company. He just submerged himself into the work of the company. He totally learned how to do all of these edge details. He was grinding, he was bullnosing, he learned how to cut the marble slabs. He was working until 10, 11 at night. People were so surprised that Randall Cunningham was coming to tear out their carpet and put in a new floor.
You know, when I look at my son, Randall II, and the responsibility that I had with him, I think that I needed that year off to be able to learn how to become a father and to really find myself. So I did a lot of soul searching.
Legends of the NFL. At Super Bowl 31 in New Orleans, Cunningham appeared in an alumni flag football game.
Randall, go in motion on my foot. Randall Cunningham's been talking about a comeback. Does it start here?
Yes! I went down to the Super Bowl and I run into Coach Denny Green. He said, "You coming back to play ball?" I said, "Yeah, I'm considering it."
He said he wanted to play again. Still felt he was young enough to play, which I agreed with. I always thought he retired too early. We said, hey, if you're looking for the right team, we give it an opportunity. How you doing, man? time to get a little football action in now. You're on the comeback trail now. You got to keep it going. Have yourself a good day out there.
That decision was basically made on Denny Green being up front with me. It wasn't like, hey, you might be the starter. So I knew I'd be a backup. So I went and I played for them.
And I'll give Randall credit. When he came in, he jumped into that role.
Good job. Good job. Nice play, Randall. Great fake. Great fake.
I got a different Randall Cunningham than what had gone before.
His life was in a different place. He wasn't worried about being a celebrity. He wasn't the focal point of the organization, so he didn't necessarily have the pressure. You know, he was just a hard worker. He was great to have around the locker room, and he could still sure enough play.
In the 1997 playoffs, Cunningham started for an injured Brad Johnson.
Cunningham puts one right on the hands of Jake Reed for the touchdown.
Rallying the Vikings from a 16-point deficit.
I'd say this goes down as one of the great comebacks.
In 1998, Cunningham's role as a backup came to an unexpected end in the second game of the season.
Brad Johnson got hurt, and Randall basically won the game for us against St. Louis.
One setback, Cunningham to throw, pressure, fires to the end zone, it is caught! Touchdown!
Going forward, I really didn't know how that was going to play out. But he flipped a switch.
When Brad got hurt, we didn't miss a beat. Actually, we felt like we might be more explosive because Randall was really the only person who could reach Randy down the field.
It really came down to him liking our system, the way it was put together. And then you had Chris Carter underneath, and you had Randy Moss over the top.
The puzzle had been put together. They just needed the right person to pull the trigger.
He now realized, I don't have to make all the plays. Somewhere along the way, the light went on, and it wasn't about Randall. It was about getting the ball to the other playmakers.
He became a really different kind of player. He had all the same kinds of skills, but he applied them so much better. It wasn't just the plays that he made. It was the mistakes that he didn't make. I think that made the difference that year.
The Vikings went 15-1 and scored a then NFL record, 556 points. Minnesota's magical season thrust Cunningham back into the spotlight. He was named NFL Player of the Year and once again graced the cover of Sports Illustrated.
There couldn't have been a better title for that cover. I was being restored. I was being redeemed. It was all a part of a great team that didn't need me.
With Minnesota, everyone, all of his fans, all of his ex-teammates saw the capability, of Randall Cunningham.
Now, can you imagine Randall Cunningham playing all of his years with that kind of offensive talent around him, the numbers that he would have posted? He would have been a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, bar none.
What a pass!
In the 1998 NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl was within reach. Leading by 7 with just over 2 minutes to play, Cunningham drove the Vikings into field goal range, setting up kicker Gary Anderson.
I remember figuring we're going to a Super Bowl. Gary had not missed all year long. All year long. The guy was perfect.
He makes this, pretty much this game is over.
39-yard attempt. The spot, the kick by Anderson on the way. It's no good.
Gary Anderson has missed a field goal for the first time in 2 years.
That would have changed the whole view of Randall's career. Yeah.
Following Anderson's miss, the Falcons tied the game and had a chance to win it in overtime.
I remember right before Morton Anderson kicked it, I got down on my face and I said, Lord, your will be done. If it's your will, give us one more chance.
The spot, the kick, wide. No, it's good.
He puts it through, and instantly I was content. It wasn't meant to be.
The Falcons have stolen the thunder from the Vikings.
And it got so quiet in that stadium. I just remember Chris Carter, and he was bawling, crying. And I went up to him and I hugged him. I said, hey, brother, we did everything we could do. It just wasn't God's will. But if I had not had sat that 1 year out, I would have lost it. Because football would have been my everything. I didn't want to have bitterness in me. And I still remember to this day, I didn't drop a tear because I knew that we had given everything we had to win that game.
Randall Cunningham left Minnesota after the 1999 season. In 2000, he backed up Troy Aikman in Dallas. In 2001, he joined the Ravens. Though at 38 years old, his role was more mentor than mainstay.
I've never been nervous like this. I've never been nervous like this.
You're a rookie, man. You got to kill a few worms a day tomorrow, and then, you know, come up out of it. Worms need balls, too. They need to catch them. Laugh it off, man.
Cunningham retired following the 2001 season. He had amassed 207 touchdown passes, thrown for nearly 30,000 yards, and rushed for 4,928, the most ever by an NFL quarterback at the time.
From that time when he retired in Philadelphia to the time he retired with the Ravens, absolutely different. He was ready. He was content with his career. So as it came to an end, it was normal.
Yes, yes, yes.
Perhaps the NFL's most lasting impact on Cunningham has been spiritual.
When I was in Minnesota, I began a Bible study. And so I was already in the form of a pastor in a small arena.
Currently, Cunningham's venue is substantially larger, but he is content to once again play a backup role. Though for one day in 2009, he was front and center in his old stomping ground when the Eagles inducted him into their Ring of Honor.
When I went out on the field with my little baby boy, brand new dad again with my little boy, the Philadelphia people just screamed. And they're saying, you're a person that we look at as one of our greatest players in the history of this team.
I welcome this great honor, and I thank my church for letting me have a day off. God bless all you guys.
That was one of the greatest days of my life. Just being back in Philadelphia and knowing that the people of Philadelphia love Randall Cunningham, regardless through the turmoil and the times we've been through. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing.
For many Philadelphians, the feeling is mutual.
Most exciting time I've had as an Eagles fan is watching Randall.
It's like the first girlfriend you have. And you move on, and maybe the breakup is even ugly. But then 20 years later, you remember everything you did with that first girlfriend and how great it was. For a lot of people, Randall's that equivalent. So while, you know, we may remember all those controversial things, nobody will ever forget the play Monday night against the Giants. Nobody will ever forget the 440-yard outburst he had against the Redskins to win that game. Nobody will ever forget him cartwheeling into the end zone more than once. Time is always the great healer.
To receive something like this is my Hall of Fame. I'm satisfied now.
Less than a year later, on June 29, 2010, 2-year-old Christian Cunningham, who Randall held tight throughout the ceremony, tragically drowned in the family's pool.
He was a radiant, beautiful child, and that's truly what we are. We're God's children. We're here today and gone tomorrow, and that was God's will for him to go on back home. And so we celebrated his death. It was not a funeral. It was a going home celebration.
We've been grieving since last Tuesday. It's time to rejoice now.
And we celebrated the time that we had with him and the time that we'll be in paradise with him.
I was his earthly father, but our Father's with him now. Hallelujah, somebody. Come on, hallelujah.
After Christian, I would always have my glasses on. I didn't want the kids to see how I was crying. In my heart, I just didn't feel like I could love anybody again. Once you experience just the absolute tearing apart of your heart, I just couldn't imagine opening that wound, you know, that heart up again to love.
Sophia, you ready to get up?
On March 5th, 2012, Felicity Cunningham gave birth to a baby daughter, Sophia Marie Ruth.
She has brought so much healing to our family, so much joy. Just Just little things like noise. It was a strange thing after Christian. Everything was very quiet. And Sophia has totally changed that. So there's noise, there's laughter, there's joy, and we have been tremendously healed just by her birth. That's what's kept us going, the whole family.
Today, Pastor Cunningham performs baptisms in the pool where Christian lost his life and has resumed preaching on Sundays.
Sometimes they hit a bump in the road and they learn from that trial. God is taking that person through a maturation process. There comes a time to understand that it's not about us.
And once again, there is football.
There we go.
Thank you. You say thank you, Mama?
On a recent autumn Saturday, Bishop Gorman High trailed by 4 points with just over a minute to play. With the game on the line, the eldest son of perhaps the greatest dual-threat quarterback ever rallied his team to victory, first with his legs, then his arm.
Cunningham back, he's looking, he's floating it for the end zone.
In his playing days, no one seemed to know where Randall Cunningham was going, not even himself.
The Ramblin' Rambo Show.
Today, the man they called Ramblin' Randall seems to have found not only peace, but a direction.
Yes, we all have great times in our life, but, you know, there are times when we're tested as well. And I just want to let people know that they can get through those times.
Way to come through. Hell of a job, baby. You're right, when the pressure's on, you're going to get that thing done,
What? See, that's what you put that 2-minute drive together. No turnovers. You did a lot better than your daddy. Come on, let's get one with the family.
Everyone faces challenges. You know, I can't bring my son back, but I can hope that one day when life is over that we'll all meet up in heaven and we'll be together.